Morning. We are looking at the relationship of the most important shidduch ever made, the match between Yitzchak and Rivka, that Avinu, Abraham, was prepared to give everything, all of his resources, which was a lot of wealth, into Yitzchak because his marriage to Rivka is the entire purpose of Avram's existence, to spread not only through space but through time. So good relationships allow us to do that. The relationship that we have this intimate look into the world of Yitzchak and Rivka, that it says Yitzchak mesachek as Rivka each day. He was engaged with Rivka, and how that teaches us about what the whole marriage that we spoke about last week when we spoke about the mission of shlichus, the shluchim sent around the world. What is their point? The Rebbe says clearly there, it's to join two worlds completely, the spiritual and the physical, totally in hands, celebrating the same thing. So here you have the dynamic that is describing the pinnacle of a relationship, is when, against his natural will, Yitzchak was brought down into, so the plan could be met. So when that is initiated by Yitzchak, the transformation of Yitzchak to such an extent, if you know something about the soul and the personage of Yitzchak Avinu, you'd understand what this means, becomes drawn into the world of Rivka, which is interacting in the physical world to rectify it, the transformation of that darkness. So when the Baal, when Yitzchak is in bringing it on, that represents the future promise, the reward of divine pleasure graced upon mortal beings. So you and I get to feel infinite because that's what everything is in its truest reality. So, okay, let that stand as an introduction. I hope you remember the stream of thought here. About, we're trying to understand, why does it say that this soul is never quenched of its love of Hashem? Because here that is question is in light of the Mayim Rabim, the immersive experience of Mayim Rabim. Of great waters, being overcome and immersed in an environment that takes you away, but you are never taken off your mark. You're always directed to Hashem. There's something higher than those waters. You use those waters like Rivka Menu, who puts the vessel down the wellspring to uplift. So that uplifting that Rivka introduces is by recognizing that there's a lower frequency and take the reins on that. So Rivka was the birur of the Nefesh Bahamas. She grew up amongst very licentious, horribly licentious people and idolatrous. They did this for their own breaking away from the unity of Hashem. And she is the rose amongst those thorns to give us the secret of what we are going to do to save our children in this generation and ourselves, if need be. The adults are supposed to be the accomplished ones, the teachers, the rabbis. They are supposed to have accomplished this. They have to shine and light people up, whatever it takes. I see tremendous work being done, and God bless those people that it should just be really taken to heart and let it take hold. That's all it takes, is simply to live this, at least for an hour with Rabbi Baruch every day. Your whole day will be lit. So I want to just read a little bit of review from yesterday. I'll go a bit fast and then we'll go further, and I'll try and make it to the minyan, all while juggling 2 glasses of wine, as we learned about 2 weeks ago. So the word Rivka, if Yitzchak is amusing Rivka, his wife, the word Rivka is the binding, the harnessing of the animals in groups, that the lion in us should not pull away from the bull in us. They should get along and be directed by the same reins, the same direction. The upliftedness that Rivka creates through this, the union, the focus of all the opposing forces, all to be used for Hashem, and that is called the transformation of the darkness to light. Now, what happens when that is lit? That's where we're going. So maybe I'll just skip down to where we were. We just did discuss one beautiful image of the 4 groupings when you have the face of the man in the front and center on this Ezekiel's chariot. So you have 4, it's not just a tripod, it's a throne with King David at the front as the 4th leg, Ragla Ravia in Aramaic. And there's an integration. It's not just like you're huddling all these different animals into one pen. But they are, as Yechezkel says, Chayvrais Isha Ela Chesa, bound one to the other. A woman and her sister, to be very literal. Shehen bechinas chibur behiskalus, that this is an integration and a unification. When you take all of the animal, the little farm that exists within us, or zoo rather, and you have that zoo just being a lit chariot, when you have that integration, that unity of purpose, and that puzzle snipping into place, v'achayas neisais, and the beasts uplift. Mishum shal yidei hiskalus v'chibur hamides yachtav. Because when your character makes sense and all fits into place, all your attributes are aligned, al yidei misalim mamshichim l'kinas elyonim leid, that elicits a spiritual response. So you get zapped to be super you. You tap into the place where all of your attributes get along, tap into that, and you'll fly. This is how we're going to understand what is our purpose. How do we serve Hashem? It's when what you love and what you fear are the same thing. Wow, what a life that is. If you fear nothing about every except the things that are you, basically, because when you identify with something, that becomes you. That's what real relationships are. There's no difference if one person, you know what I'm talking about. So this elicits mercy upon the soul that agreed to go on this incredible mission to just be immersed in this putty of a world that we live in, where the Incredible Hulk is the only one that can smash through everything. We have mercy on our infinite soul, Shiyar the ploying, that miraculous abysses it's traversed to get to where it is. Rivka. And when you do that, when you have the awareness even there, that's called Rivka. Shalish Bakar. That's when you group the 3 attributes together. Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. As they engage with Klippas Nega, the shiny world, it's the opaque world. That's probably the best translation for it. The opaque world of, which because it's obscuring the world we live in, the matrix of the physical world. The Eilim La Hashem. And when you do this, when you integrate like this, like Rivka teaches us, to not be afraid of the world, but just see how it's meant to fit in, that elevates it to Hashem. So the chariot lifts up the throne. V'zeu v'hine Rivka yetzas. And the Torah describes Rivka going out. Interestingly, Leah was called a yetzanis, but I've never heard Rivka accused of being that. Here it says she goes out. Remember, she was going out to do her shepherdess work. Sheyetzas meklipas nega. Because she goes out from this physical world that she was immersed in, just to sort of venture there and to transform it. The darkness of it transformed to light. And sometimes you introduce not only the emotional attributes described as animals, but also a human face amongst this chariot. Welcome. The human face, the beast within us, becomes the slave, which is the ultimate servant, which is Eved Melech Melech. The servant, the slave of the king, is a king because he's the precious, or she. Sometimes you bring in a human face to this beastly chariot that uplifts. When you include the other, the malchus is you always are king over something. You could be a nice person and never have anyone to be nice to. Malchus is when you have a relationship with someone and you're nice to them and now you shine within him. It's the reflective light of the lowest of the 10 spheres. Malchus, kingship. It is devotion akin to slavery. Because to serve, the word to be an eved is a veda, that's the word for spiritual service. And fear and reverence are 2 mitzvahs. Maybe that means love and fear, I'm not sure how they meant it there. And this is why the Torah says that Yitzchak was engaging with Rivka, his wife. Dahainu shebechinas Yitzchak, which means when it says Yitzchak's name, it's referring to Shua Tainug, the pleasure, she is Skalda Lasalavi, that is destined to be revealed. Harehu Nimshach es Rivka Ishtay. And that force, that pleasure in this process, draws Rivka. So you are Rivka, you're the Jewish soul, and divine pleasure now is so interested in you that it decides to invigorate you more, to shine back more. So that force is Yitzchak, it's the promise of reward, it's the promise of grace upon creation. The promise of Hashem, the Creator, showing his love and delight in the Jewish people, is called a amusement of Rivka, or a pursuit of Rivka, or playing with Rivka, or a laughter. As Rivka, his wife. Shubachinas biru d'Shemban. That's when that world has been refined and the divine has been, it's been aligned with divine will, the physical world that is the harnessing of the beast. By rectifying the beast. So whatever makes you, there's a human aspect where a human being here is just the 4th leg, is described as the human face of servitude on this chariot harnessed in with these animals. The human side here is after you've immersed in that world and you've rectified it, that's called Rivka. Kilamatahu in anpinispardin, because below everything branches off and you can't find your way. It's a labyrinth to the core. Aval yedei bira, but when you've gone there and conquered and made friends with that world, the physical world that we all find ourselves in. As nase skalus. Then you have this integration. So that's why it says that Rivka lowers the bucket into the well, the tamalakada, and fills it up. Which means that by engaging in the world and being authentic there and rectifying it, bittul nefesh bahamas, and devoting your animal instincts to want to get closer to Hashem. Davka, specifically that way, that from this ascent, this common purpose, devoting all that is described as an ascent, an elevation. Elicits a response, just like this bucket coming down into the well, that's the Rivka's function here. So it elicits a response from on high, filling up her bucket, which is the 24 books of the Torah, as we said before. Oh, awesome, Rivka, your name here is so mysterious, because who ever heard of this before? I've never seen this anywhere. The name of Rivka explained like this. Or in any way. Because the entire Torah is inherent to every aspect of the physical existence, because it's the moral. What's the umbilical cord that comes out of the guy in 2001? It's like the spaceman on the spacewalk has that cable that connects him to the base. That is this bucket going down and lighting up the world. Because the Torah speaks about physical things. Mitzvahs, trumois, maisros, like tithing the produce and dedicating it to holy purpose. Betzamach v'zera arts, from the blossoming forth and the sprouting of the earth. Mitzvahs karbanas b'balachayim, and we have mitzvahs that involve the physical beasts of the world. You see here that it's all about physical things. We're told how to interact with physical things. This is the way Torah engages with the entire shiny klippa called neiga, the physical world. And through engaging and doing it the correct way, which is called a mitzvah, you refine that energy there, you rectify, and bring infinite light into that experience, as I, Hashem says, command you. That's why it says, and behold, I was standing upon the well of water. That's a reference to when here we say Rivka was the one to descend the bucket into the wellspring. The Timalakada, the Nimshach, Mamash Bekinas Anehi. This draws the aspect of Hashem here referred to in the verses Anehi, when Hashem is speaking from his own first person pronoun. With the nun we've spoken about at length, the difference between ani, me, and anechi, I. Or in some other way of looking at it. Shehu Stemen, the ultimate mystery. Shemenanim Shachamayan, wherefore this wellspring comes from. And therefore, in order to draw the revelation of divine awareness into the world, Bidvarim Gashmin, you do it through physical things. Shemeklipas Nega, in this whole matrix called Nega, that has to be by first engaging the animal side of you. You cannot go on to the 2.0 until you've met the beast and harnessed it. Shehu gam ken miklipas nego. Because the beast is also from that world called the shiny klippa. She'az achar birur v'halazu. That because after this has been done, and remember, this is why I think this is so important for us, the Rebbe said that we've already achieved this. So in some sense, we're already supposed to be on the next level that he's describing here. She'az achar birur v'halazu. After you've already engaged and rectified, thank you, and your animal is just this chariot that drives, you could have this what's described as Rivka lowering the bucket and filling it up in the wellspring. You can become the vessel to contain this. Which is why the Torah was not given to angels. Simply because they don't have the very thing that we're always criticizing ourselves for having, an evil inclination. The evil inclination is simply intended to be used towards igniting. The angels have nothing to do with rectifying that world then, and that's where the main theater of operation resides. And they can't be this amusing fireworks of transforming darkness into light. Thus, they cannot get the result of that, which is what it elicits in Hashem, which is Yitzchak, this promise of laughter that we spoke about. Here described as that I command. So the authorship of the Creator is engaged. Or elicited from. Even though you have to say the Alter Rebbe right there, that this divine revelation also is drawn into the experience of angels, and they only get the river part of the wellspring, which waters the garden. Because on this it says what the angels experience. It says those who sit in the gardens, chaverim, as friends. Shehem hamalachim, which are the angels, makshivim l'koylecha, and they listen to the words. But when we speak about Rivka, what Rivka does, which is lowering the bucket into the well and filling it up, the angels don't experience that. This is what the soul experiences. Because the soul is linked to something that exists in the physical world where those forces actually are in conflict. We're not the friends, the chaverim that we say about the angels. We're in a world of conflict, and when we use that as a way to settle and draw from the well springs of the wisdom within that world, the Chaf Dalet Sfarim, the Torah that exists in 24 canonized works, which tells us how to interact with the world, how to bring there the infinity of Hashem, the Creator. That's only in the power of the soul, because the soul has a body, and the angels don't. Therefore, our sages say, Asidim Tzadikim, in the future, the righteous will be Sheyemru Hamalachim, the angels will say to them, Kadesh, you are holy.